Welcome to the Mindset Architect Podcast, where it's all about creating the life you want, the business you want, and making a real difference. Join us in unlocking the code to true success. And now your host, Tony Caliendo, Master Coach with reTHINK Coaching.
Welcome to the Mindset Architect Podcast, episode number 80. I'm Tony Caliendo, Master Coach here at reTHINK Coaching. And as always, thanks so much for joining me today. I appreciate you sharing your time with me. Time truly is our most valuable asset. And the fact that you're willing to share your time with me truly does mean a great deal. So thanks again for being here. Today, I want to talk about decisions in action, or decisions and action. I think it's really important for us to take a look at this as we're moving rapidly into quarter two of this current year that we're in, and we're making decisions about what we must do moving forward to either stay on track with our goal or to make some minor adjustments or tweaks or maybe a major adjustment to get us back on track. And that takes making decisions and then taking action. I don't know about you, but some decisions seem to come so easily to me. Like I see something, a choice comes up, it's very easy to make a decision and move forward in taking the action. Other times, when you're faced with multiple choices that are equally as good or could work, it can be a little bit more challenging to make the decision. And then it certainly can be challenging to take the action moving forward. So I want to talk about 5 elements of making decisions and getting into action with you today to help you on your journey. Because here's what I know. As entrepreneurs, as creative people, we make a lot of decisions. I think if you stopped and really counted the number of decisions you had to make in a day, you might be shocked at the amount of decisions that you make on the fly that just happen because of your intelligence. It happens because of your awareness. It happens because of your knowledge. So let's talk about the first thing, and that's having clarity versus ambiguity. And this helps with the ease of making a decision. So just like I said earlier, when something comes up that you're very familiar with, that you have a lot of knowledge about, that you don't have to go and research, get on Google, go talk to some people. When you don't have to do a lot of research and you are clear and understand the elements of the topic at hand, you can make a decision pretty clearly because you're clear. You're clear on the facts, you're clear on the information that you need, and it helps you make a decision. Now, when it's ambiguous, meaning you just don't have the data that you need to make a decision, but you feel pressure to make a decision right now, that can complicate the decision-making process. And in fact, that can point us in a direction of making a decision that isn't in our best interest, or it isn't going to move us forward in the way that we would like to do. So here's what I would encourage. When you are faced with a decision that you don't have enough knowledge about, it's okay to pause. I think we feel obligated or compelled that we have to give a decision to everything that comes our way. And we do that a lot out of wanting to look good and be right. I mean, when somebody asks us something, most of us don't want to say, you know what, I don't know. And that's exactly what you should do if you're not clear on all of the facts that you need to process to make a healthy, sound decision. So just learn that in this process, if you don't have clarity, if you don't have familiarity with it, it's okay to say, you know what, that's a great question. Let me get back to you. I just want to make sure that I have all of the facts before I make that decision. I know for me, I've done that a lot. I do that a bit with my coach sometimes because I do want to make sure that I'm making the right decision about the next step we're going to take for my organization, for me as a person. And it's okay to take a breath and do that research. I do it a bit, and I'm getting more and more comfortable as people approach me and ask me to do things for their organization or participate in an event or what my opinion is about something to help them in their decision-making process. I feel very comfortable just pausing the conversation and saying, you know what, great question. Let me gather some more information and then I'll get back to you. And I make sure that I get back to them. So I think it's really important that you understand that. The other part is, and we've talked about this a little bit, being really, really clear on your values. When a decision needs to be made for myself or for Rethink Coaching or one of my other organizations, I am really clear on my values. I am incredibly clear on what is really my top 5 values. And I'm not talking about moral compass values, although that does play a part in my overall values. I'm talking about my values, things like freedom and flexibility, things like financial. Those things are really part of my values as a business owner and as an entrepreneur. And so if somebody is asking me to make a decision and it is immediately out of alignment with my values, it is really easy for me to say no. Where if I wasn't clear on my values, it might be more challenging. So, in addition to clarity just around the facts and the information, make sure you're really clear around your values. And we've talked about this in previous podcasts. I think it's one of the biggest gifts you can give to yourself is to be crystal clear on what those values are, because it really does help in making decisions and moving you forward. The second thing I want to talk about is the challenge of action. Sometimes making the decision is the easy part, right? It's like, okay, it's in alignment with my values. I know the information, I know the facts, I know the data. I feel very comfortable saying yes. And I've said yes to the decision. Now it's time to take action. And this is where I find out sometimes I've said yes to something that maybe I shouldn't have if I'm resisting taking the action. And I think that's a really good yellow caution flag for us to pay attention to is when you agree to do something and yet you put on the brakes or you pause. You may have made a decision out of haste and you weren't 100% congruent with it. And it's going to take you a minute to work through it in order for you to implement and take action. Sometimes I see this happen. People will make a decision, or in order to make a decision, they go into this place it's commonly called this analysis paralysis, where they're going to dig into their logic. They're going to spreadsheet their way in and out of things. They're really going to make sure that they're doing the right thing. And they take all of this time to analyze it. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but sometimes that analysis paralysis is a really nice package around resistance. You're just resisting taking action, resisting making a decision. You're resisting. And so you confuse the situation with saying, I've got to go analyze it, because that gives you permission not to make a decision. And the reality is you're just preventing yourself from taking a stand either for or against whatever it is being asked of you or the decision that you need to make. So make sure that when you do make a decision, if you resist taking action, you go back to that decision and make sure you're congruent with it. And if you ever find yourself in this paralysis phase, is it really that you're analyzing and getting information? Or are you hiding behind that? I think a lot of the time we're just hiding behind it, which can postpone and delay us taking an action that we may not want to. Sometimes too, when we don't take action, so we've made a decision, we feel really good about it, and we resist, it comes back to that old friend, fear, where we're fearful of taking action because we might fail. Some of you might be fearful of taking action and succeeding because then you won't know what to do with that. And so fear and resistance can also be part of the challenge from decision to taking action. And it can interfere with the decision process, but usually interferes with the taking action part. The third thing is the bridge from decision to action. It's, once you've made the decision and we need to take meaningful action, do we have a strategy to implement to take us there? And I think that's really important for us to ask ourselves is, we've made a decision. Now we're just going to haphazardly take action, or do we actually have a strategy, a process? Do we know the steps we're going to take to get into action? And that one is really, really important to know, because it's not just about decision action, because I've seen this happen a bit. It's happened to me, made a decision, hopped right into action, and I failed miserably. And it's okay, because there's lessons in the failure. However, I thought, how silly of me to not have just taken 20 minutes, an hour, whatever needed to happen, to step back and say, okay, I've made this decision. This is what I'm going to do. Now, what are the logical steps, or what's the process for me to follow that when I do take action will lead me to my goal or towards success? So make sure that bridge between the decision and action is appropriate, and that you're crystal clear on the action steps and strategies that you must take, or you're at risk of failing. And again, failing is not the end of the world. However, it certainly feels better when you win. And it certainly feels better when you win if you just took a few minutes to outline that strategy. It boosts your confidence. It makes you want to get into action quicker versus just kind of running at it willy-nilly saying, I'm just going to do it. And newsflash for you that are entrepreneurs, real estate agents, we tend to do that. And I can say that because I've been licensed since 2001. And I think like that a lot of times. I just get so excited that I made a decision and know what's going to happen that I'll jump in. And you really got to stop and build that bridge between decision and action. The number 4 thing to think about is that mindset plays a role in taking action. And a lot of times what can happen is we've made a decision because we know it's something we need to do. So let's just take, for example, and I'll share this example of myself. A couple of years ago, my coach was really pushing me to get better about social media. And I knew the decision was right to say yes. Okay. However, I was struggling with my mindset around it. And I was struggling with it because I just didn't know. I watched other people. I saw other people have great results. I saw all the likes, all the comments, all that stuff. And that wasn't happening for me. And it really messed with my mindset. Well, what I needed to do really was stay in a place of a growth mindset, right? A closed mindset would have been, okay, yes, I agree. And then I wouldn't do anything because I would just do stuff based upon my own knowledge versus just taking a moment to say, you know what, it is a great decision to expose reTHINK coaching on a higher level through social media, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, all those fun things. Yet I don't know how to do it. And for me, it was really embracing a growth mindset to say, I don't know what I'm doing, and to go find the support that helped me understand it better. And now taking it to another level with leveraging it off. However, I had to make the decision to engage in social media. So just make sure your mindset is in the right place and that you're open to having a growth mindset where you might need to make the decision, and part of your strategy, that bridge to moving forward to taking action, is going to involve you learning, taking an online course, engaging with a coach that specializes and has a package and exactly what you need. Really, really pay attention with it. And then the other thing is, the 5th thing for you to consider is knowing that decisions and actions are interconnected. You really can't make a decision and not take action. Any decision you make is going to require some action, whether it's leveraged through somebody else or it's you taking the action. And the outcome and the results are really going to depend on the power of the decision and the power of the actions that you take. So these things are really important for us to remember, that a decision without action is only 50% of the equation. Taking actions without making a decision, I've seen that happen too, is also only 50% of the equation and can be really dangerous. And when we don't realize that these are connected and we do one without the other, we can set ourselves up for a bit of failure. Now, I want to be clear on this, because you might be asking yourself, why would you take action without making a decision? And you may take action based upon influence. You may take action based upon comparison. You may take action because you think a different way, watching somebody else do something is what you should do, and you just jump into action. And you're really not making a decision. So for me, if I just would have said, if my coach would have never said it, and I saw another coach on Facebook do something really awesome and get great results and great comments, and I felt like they made a difference, I might just jump into action and try to duplicate it. But I don't have any decision really that I made based upon me taking that action, other than I'm comparing myself to what somebody else was doing. And I felt compelled to just take action. It's really important that these two things are interconnected for you to get the best result possible. One of my favorite things about decisions and to decide, and I learned this a while ago, if you just think about the word decide, it really means you're killing off all other options. I mean, think about it. Pesticide is the killing off of pest. Homicide is the killing off of a human. Genocide is the killing off of a specific group, right? And decide is really no different. And I love the power of when we decide. It really does clear a path in your brain to know the direction that you should be going. Now we got to plus it with action. However, it's the biggest gift you can give yourself to make a decision, to decide, to kill off all other options and say, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I have decided. I'm going to forget about all of the other things for now, and I'm just going to go with my decision because I decided. I've wiped out the other options for now. That really does provide a great pathway for your brain to say, okay, I know where we're going. I know the decision. Now let's plus it with some strategies. And I felt confident in moving forward. And I felt confident that that decision is going to get me to goal. One of the best analogies or stories that you can maybe relate to is if when you're a little kid, I don't know about you, but my mom would have my outfit picked out for me so I didn't have to think about it in the morning. I really just had to get up, brush my teeth, take a shower, have breakfast, which was decided for me, and put on my outfit, which was decided for me, and go to school, which was decided for me. However, it made everything so much easier in the morning because all the decisions were made. And I think about adults. Some of my best days happened because of what I did the day before. I made decisions. I decided what I was going to do. I decided how I was going to do it. I eliminated all other options. So when I woke up, my brain wasn't overwhelmed having to make a bunch of decisions from the minute I opened my eyes. What am I going to wear? What am I going to do? How am I going to get there? If we make all those decisions the night before, it's really no different than when your mom or your dad or your caregiver laid out your clothes for you the night before because you were able to wake up and not have to make a decision. When they had breakfast sat out for you, it helped tremendously because you didn't have to make a decision. And so if we think about our business through that same lens, making a decision is one of the healthiest things you can do. It truly is. It gets you out of overwhelm. It gets you out of confusion. It gets you out of having to process all of these options. And then it allows you to build that bridge, that strategy bridge to taking action. So I love making decisions the day before about my next day because it makes my mornings so much smoother. So things as simple as my morning routine, wake up, cup of coffee, journal, walk out the door to go to the gym or to yoga or to whatever I'm doing. But that morning routine has already been decided for me the night before. I wake up and I don't have to think, okay, what am I supposed to do? Let's see, it's 4:33. What should I be doing now? Oh, I should be having my cup of coffee. Then we sit there and try to figure out, okay, what would I do next? Do I do the journal thing or do I meditate? What decisions are made? And it just allows you to get into action a lot easier and a lot more efficiently. So I love thinking about decisions and action and realizing how interconnected they are and how a decision without taking action is only about 50% of the equation, and taking action without making a decision can be a little bit dangerous. So the 5 points I'm talking about today for you where decisions in action or decisions drive action is clarity versus ambiguity. Be really clear. And if you're not clear, go do the research you need to do to get the facts you need to make that decision in a clear space without any confusion. Embrace the challenge of taking action. Make sure that you understand and you've got the right strategy in place to take actions, and that if you're not taking action after you've made a decision, you may have made a decision prematurely and you weren't ready because your resistance in taking action could be a symptom of that. It could simply be a symptom of fear and resistance as well. But pay attention when you've made a decision and you're resisting taking action. Something is stopping you from doing it. Building that bridge, number 3, again, from decision to action, really, really important. If clear process on what you're going to do once the decision has been made. And it may take you 5 minutes, it may take you 5 hours, it may take you 5 days. Whatever it takes, depending on the magnitude of the decision, take it and get that strategy built correctly. Know that your mindset, number 4, is going to play a really important part in connection between decision and action. And it could be just simply embracing a growth mindset that you've made a decision, but you need some help. You made a decision, you're not the expert. Go get the guidance that you need. Again, for me, it was in social media. There have been a lot of those moments where I knew doing something was the right thing. I just didn't know how to do it. And in the beginning, when it was just me doing everything, I really had to embrace that growth mindset and stretch myself to learn things that I didn't enjoy doing. ask my CPA how much I love submitting my financials. Not one of my favorite things to do, but I had to go learn how to do it. And now that I do and have all the systems, it's great. But in the beginning, it was just me. So pay attention to your mindset. If you're resisting, it can just simply be you need to learn a little bit more, which falls into place with the strategies. And the fifth thing is embracing the fact that decisions and actions are interconnected and that we need to really pay attention to that piece, that part of the journey of making a decision is to take action. Part of the journey of taking actions is because you made a decision. And be confident in the decision that you make. I'm going to close with this. I made a lot of decisions that I thought were just freaking amazing and had great strategies and took amazing action, only to find out it wasn't the right decision. But as I've said over and over and over throughout most of the podcasts that we talk about failure, because I would consider that somewhat of a failure, that there's so many lessons in it. And to be honest with you, sometimes you make a decision, and if it doesn't work exactly the way you thought it would, even with the best strategy, you realize it wasn't a great decision to make. I think I've shared with you all a decision that we made to partner with some folks, and it was really a terrible decision. Even though we had a strategy, even though we had a plan, it ended up being really probably one of the worst business decisions I have ever made in my entire life. And I could have sat there and licked my wounds, but what I did is just realize that that decision wasn't appropriate. What's the next best decision for me to make? What did I learn from that situation? What do I want to repeat? What do I never want to do again? And it's okay if a decision you make is not the right decision, especially after you've executed it and you've done everything you can to support it, to pivot and make a different decision. Some of our decisions we think in the moment are phenomenal. I thought that one was one of the more solid decisions I could have made as a business owner, to partner with some folks that I trusted, only to realize it was a terrible decision, but it was a decision I made. And it was a decision I learned from and I grew from. And it's great because without that having happened, without making that decision, reTHINK coaching wouldn't exist. I most likely wouldn't have stepped out when I did, just based upon that one decision. So anyway, those are the 5 things to take into account when you're thinking about decision and action, how important it is to marry those 2 things together. As always, if you have any questions, please reach out to me. Happy to help you out any way that I can, whether it's about this, whether you struggle with making decisions, whether you struggle with taking action after you make a decision, whether it's everything in between or nothing to do with this at all. If you're struggling, please reach out. I offer a free 1-hour strategy session. All you have to do is go to our website, rethinkcoaching.com. There's a box that you put your name, email, telephone number. That email comes directly to me. I will reach out to you and we'll schedule a free 1-hour strategy session, whether it's about this or anything else. Always there to help you out. Go make it a great week and we'll talk to you soon. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, you must come check out the Mindset Architect Group Coaching Program. It's our monthly program where we explore the power of your mindset, help you identify what you truly want in business and life, and then help you reach those goals. Come check us out at rethinkcoaching.com/group-program. That's rethinkcoaching.com/group-program. We'll see you there.